how far from your wrestling injury was it until you had your breakdown? Do you think they were linked?
No, that was about 10 years. So
Okay.
sort of like where I was going with that whole thing was like Nova and I became best friends after this rap show. And then we stayed in touch forever, but we parted ways. Nova went out to Toronto. I stayed on the West Coast. She ended up getting a record deal with Island Def Jam. They moved her to LA. This is many years have passed. Then I have my mental breakdown. I sober up and get myself better. And Nova says, hey, come to LA and live with me. So I come down to LA and I'm staying with Nova in Crenshaw, which is like the hood. It's a tough part of town, and we're living there together.
Not where I lived. I lived on Crenshaw.
Yeah, but you were on the west side of Crenshaw.
It was beautiful.
Oh, you're at the other side. Yeah. So Nova and I are living in Crenshaw together, and it's like pretty grim. We're like living in like essentially like almost like a crack shack, and it's just like the walls are full of mice. And I'd go to the kitchen in the middle of the night and open the cupboards, and there's cockroaches running across all our plates and stuff, and the roof's leaking, and we can't afford to do like groceries and pay rent in the same month. Like our power was cut off so often that I had an extension cord that I used to keep coiled up behind the fridge. And when the power got cut off, I'd run the cord out into my neighbor's garage and plug it into his garage so our food in the fridge didn't spoil. Like it was fucking grim.
And did he know about it?
Pardon me? Yeah, he knew about it. He was cool. And then it was like so fucking bizarre. It was like literally like one day,
it's beyond mice and men.
For real, literally. So it was bizarre. Like one day we're sitting there and the power had just come back on after a week of being cut off, and we have no food and no money for rent. We literally have nothing. And I have half a cigarette left. This is like,
oh no,
it blows my mind to this day. And I'm like, I'm sitting in this house, and this, I think it was like a Drake song or a G-Eazy song comes on the computer or the radio or whatever. And whoever it was sort of like bitching about being famous and bitching about being rich. And it's like kind of like the woe is me, like sad celebrity song. And I was like, I was so bitter about it. I was like, how fucking dare you? Like, I would give anything to be in that position, and not in the position that I'm in now. I was so fucking offended by it. And I went out and sat on the front porch with half a cigarette. And in the time that it took me to smoke that cigarette butt, it was literally like, there's no other way to explain it. It was literally like God like reached down and like spoke through me into my phone. And I wrote this song in like 10 minutes. I don't remember stopping.
Really?
Yeah. I don't remember stopping to think, oh, what word rhymes here? Or like, what should I say at this part? Or like anything, like a typical songwriting.
Was it just like a download hit you and you had to download it?
Just like that.
Yeah.
And by the time I'd finished smoking the cigarette, I had written this song and my hands were shaking on my phone. I almost had a panic attack. I ran into the house and I said, Nova, I just wrote the song that's going to change our fucking life.
You knew it right away? Well, because it came through you, right?
Yeah,
you feel like it came straight from God through you to your fingers?
That's the only explanation I can come up with.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
There's been a lot of times in my life, especially growing up, that I wasn't sure if there was anything that existed beyond us. And that was one of those experiences where it was just like, oh, I'm actually a very small part of what's going on here. There's something much more powerful than me here. It was just one of those things. And
how long was that from when you were so depressed and you took that one good pill? How long was that?
6 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So I ran.
And you moved from Canada to US in that time.
Yeah.
And your power shut off, got rats.
Yep.
You write this song. What happens next?
I run in the house. I'm freaking out. And I say to Nova, hey, I just wrote the song. It's going to change everything. Can you set up your camera? Can we shoot this video? And she's like, you don't even have the song recorded. And I said, look, I'm going to record it right now. While I'm recording, can you pull the backdrop down and set up a light? And she does. And I record this thing. We had this $125 light from Amazon. It's about this big. That's all we had for our light. And she pulls the backdrop down, sets up the light. We shoot this video in like an hour. I call my sister. This is brutal. This is embarrassing. My sister's 5 years younger than me. I call my sister and asked her for $200 because we had nothing.
Oh no!
And my sister gives me $200. I call my mom, ask her for $200. She gives me $200. I call 3 of my friends and asked them for $150 a piece. And when it was all said and done, I had $1,100. And that was enough to pay our rent and do groceries, neither of which we could do without this $1,100. But I was like, fuck it. We got to bet it all on red right now. And the next day we put the music video out, and I took that $1,100 and put it on an ad. And 24 hours later, it had 1 million views and just changed our life.
Man.
It's amazing.
Now,
Congrats.
Thank you.
What do you think people were? What were you saying that was so magnetic to people at that time?
I was pretty much just criticizing the status quo of hip hop. Like I said, I had heard that song, and it irritated me so much that this guy was bitching about a lifestyle that like was the opposite of mine, and one that I would give anything to have. I was so resentful about it. So I wrote this song called Dear Rappers, and that was in 2017. And the whole thing was just criticizing the message of hip hop. And, you know, a lot of people ended up saying that, calling me a racist for that song. And my response was that I wasn't criticizing any rappers of a particular color. I was criticizing rappers of a particular content. And that was, you know, drugs, cars, clothes, money, girls, partying, all the same stuff that deteriorated me to a point where I had a fucking mental breakdown. So that mental breakdown was the greatest thing that ever happened, because coming out of it, I was like, you know what? Do I want to make the same music that eroded my morals and it fucked my life up? Yeah. Do I want to be making that for other kids so they can end up in the same fucked up situation I'm in? Obviously not. So I wanted to make music that was going to inform people, wake people up, empower people, and improve and enforce high moral value. The opposite of sort of the music that I was listening to. So that's what Dear Rappers was. And I think that in a world that's just like so fake and so full of bullshit, it's really easy to just cut through all that noise just by being fucking authentic and genuine and true to yourself. And I was saying a lot of things that a lot of people were thinking but weren't saying out loud. So I think I got to speak on behalf of a lot of people sort of by accident. It was a very personal journey for me, and I didn't know that there was millions of people that felt the same way.
What was that a shock to you when you found that out?
I couldn't fucking believe it. I didn't know what was going on. Like, we woke up the next day and I looked at YouTube or Facebook or whatever it was, and I said, Nova, the video's got 1 million views. And my fan page went from having 500 people on it to 20,000 people overnight. And fucking, 30 days later, a check comes in the mail for $10,000. Neither one of us had ever seen that amount of money before. And then, then the next month it was 20, and then 50, and then 70, and then 100. And I was like, we're moving the fuck out of Crenshaw. Let's go. Yeah, it was just a really wild ride. And like, I'm almost crying just talking about it now, because I just thank God every day, because we were on the brink. Like, I don't know where we'd be right now if it wasn't for that song. Probably still in Crenshaw, fucked up.
Oh, you see